What year is this, Dwight?
66 or 67, I think. I bought it a year after I got out of the service. And
Brakes work?
what?
Brakes work?
Not very good.
Good enough to stop on the downhill run?
Probably not.
Lifting that into the truck. Oh. You're gonna have to actually go off here pretty fast, I think. You better go. To turn in the trailer, lifting that into the truck.
Let the cable out.
You got it.
I'm okay. I think if it falls, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Well, here we go. In preparation for this, my father-in-law took this cover off here and he drained the tank. It's a pretty solid tank. And he drained the radiator. And we're going to be changing an engine on this thing. I've never done anything like this before. My father-in-law has been involved in repairing tractors his whole life, but he's never really changed an engine on a tractor like this. He has done it on smaller tractors. Interesting, maybe a little bit fun. Interesting challenge for me working on Volkswagens going to this. I don't think I'll need my triple splines or my Torx bits. Wonder why this needs a motor. Look at that bad boy. Well, we disassembled some stuff. Got the front end supported by this cherry picker here, and we're going to try pulling the front end off of it. Actually, something's still holding this. Man, this hydraulic line's pulling this a little bit here. We'll go up with this. Just grab them. Boo! Less than 2 hours we spent doing this. Yes, I'm pounding my chest. Watch for snagging. Thank you very much. Look at the size of that stuff. That's a far cry from the Volkswagens I usually work on.
It looks just like Volkswagen, doesn't it?
This clutch must have been replaced in 1972. It looks brand new.
Yeah, I don't believe it's ever been done good.
Okay, I've just spent a pretty significant amount of time struggling with this. I thought I'd share what was causing the problem, maybe save someone else a whole bunch of struggling. But you see these channels right here, there are lugs that go into each one, and those lugs need to be, since it's a dual disc clutch, those lugs have to be in pretty good alignment. And what kept happening is we'd get the first two in and the third one, or maybe even just the first one in, and the second one wouldn't go in. And what we ended up doing to finally solve the problem was put a screwdriver in the gap here and tap side to side on that, and that made it line up to where the pressure plate would bolt up flush. Now, a couple other items where I might give you some advice. Behind this is a little washer. We can see it here, but I've already bolted it in. That's it right there. If you lose that washer, you better get one. I don't know what it does, but it needs to be there. It probably keeps the throttle bearing from moving that direction. But there is a little washer right there, and it sits behind the flywheel. If you were careless when you pulled the flywheel off, you might lose that, and that would be a problem. The second thing is the engine rear main seal. We wanted to change it, and we bought one, but what we didn't buy is the gasket that sits between this and this. So obviously you can see the oil pressure sender is here. So this is sort of like a bell housing. I don't know what to say, adapter plate. The starter bolts to it here, but it is definitely separate from the engine block itself. And so oil pressure comes through here into here. And so if we remove this in order to change that engine rear main seal, might be better to show you on the other engine, but then we won't have a gasket to put this back on, because obviously there has to be some type of seal to seal that to that. And we're not going to be able to wait for a gasket, so we're going to go ahead and put it together without the engine rear main seal. This one wasn't leaking. Would have been nice to do it though. Okay, so if you see, our gap here is small, and as it comes over here it's wide, because these lugs are not going into the channel form here. So I'll just simply take a screwdriver and tap down that way, or maybe up that way, in order to get it into the channel, and then it'll fall in and seat flush. So there it is, seat and flush. On this one, I literally had to move several of them in order to get it flush. I could get it flush here, and then I rotated the engine around and then just banged back and forth on the lug, and then it seated flush. After fighting with the clutch quite a bit, we got the clutch in there and got it bolted back up against the tractor. We'll be putting the front end, a few miscellaneous things on, and then putting the front end back on it. Well, the engine's installed and the front end's back on. We're doing a bunch of little things like replacing fuel lines and a few new hoses and stuff, getting all the accessories bolted up. Made a little mistake, busted this here, so that may keep us from starting it. But it's going really well. We've got a full 9 hours into it, and we'll get started on it again tomorrow. So we got it full of engine oil, got some John Deere oil and John Deere filter. Put some fuel in it, and got all critical systems hooked up to where it should start. We don't have the hydraulic portion hooked up on the front, and we're going to attempt starting it here soon. moving this thing's been kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
We hooked to it. I ain't talking to you, I'm on the camera. Moving this thing's been kind of a challenge. I'm kind of tired. We pulled it backwards with a Volkswagen, one of my project cars, and then pushed it forward over here to get it off the rack. It was never on the rack, just the rack was holding one side of it up. Oh boy. We've pretty much completed our John Deere tractor. We have a few odds and ends. We did have some difficulties because our help had the wires backwards here, and I actually broke the solenoid, and we had to replace the solenoid. I was tightening this up and the plastic just broke away. Of course, it's a 60-year-old tractor. It's a very old tractor anyway. I don't know if it's 60 years old or not, but and we
50 years old.
Who asked you? Okay, so is that rude? Sorry. Anyway, I guess I'll start it up for you. Looks pretty good. Steering works now. Look at that. Kind of a fun project. Like and subscribe and visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And if you want to donate towards the continued production of these videos, you can find a link on my website. What? It's not working now?